Good evening. We're here for GMH zoning procedures 2020, and we do the pledge at this point. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. Changes to the agenda.
For the record, Brian Grady, Hillsborough County Development Services. We have no changes to the published agenda, so I'll go through the published withdrawals and continuances. Beginning on page 4 of the agenda. The first item is item A1, rezoning PD 18-0798. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to December 14th, 2020 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A2, major mod application 20-0290. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the November 16th, 2020 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A3, rezoning PD 20-0307. This application is being continued by the applicant to the October 19th, 2020 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A4, rezoning standard 20-0334. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the October 19th, 2020 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A5, rezoning PD 20-08382. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the October 19th, 2020 zoning hearing master hearing. And item A6, rezoning PD 20-0690. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the October 19th, 2020 zoning hearing master hearing. That concludes all withdrawals and continuances.
Yeah, we call the cases. With regards to the rezoning requests on our agenda tonight, the Land Development Code requires that a public hearing be conducted by a land use hearing officer prior to a final decision by the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners. The land use hearing officer does not make the final decision, but instead renders a recommendation to the board, who makes the final decision at their public hearing. The hearing procedures are as follows. The hearing tonight will be informal. Questioning shall be confined as closely as possible to the scope of direct testimony. As the land use hearing officer, I will call and question witnesses as necessary and appropriate. I will decide all questions of procedure. Irrelevant, immaterial, and unduly repetitious evidence will be excluded. Any part of the evidence that may be received in written form, and all testimony shall be under oath. Hearsay evidence may be used for purposes of supplementing or explaining other evidence, but it shall not be sufficient in and of itself to support a finding by me unless it would be admissible over the objections in a civil action. The order of presentation, applicant and witnesses proposal with a limit of 15 minutes. Administrator, summary, and the application and county staff and department findings, 5 minutes. Planning Commission, if required by the LDC, staff, statements of compliance or non-compliance with our comprehensive plan, 5 minutes. Proponents, argument in support of the application, 15 minutes. Opponents, arguments against the application, 15 minutes. Staff, amended recommendations, if any, 5 minutes. Applicant, rebuttal and summation, 5 minutes. When you approach, please pull the microphone close to your mouth. Name and address first. Speak clearly into the microphone. When completed, sign the clerk's roster. And now we shall hear from the county attorney.
Good evening, Mr. Hearing Master. My name is Cameron Clark. I'm an assistant county attorney. Tonight's public hearing is the first step of a two-step rezoning process. This hearing is a time for rezoning applicants and interested parties to present evidence and testimony. Any evidence presented tonight will become the complete factual record of each application, and no additional evidence can be introduced after the closing of each application. The second step of the rezoning process is a public meeting before the Board of County Commissioners, where the board will take a decision on each application heard tonight. Tonight's applications are scheduled to be heard by the board at its November 10th, 2020 land use meeting. When considering applications, the board will only review the record created at tonight's hearing and the recommendation made by the hearing master for each application. The hearing master will file a recommendation for each application heard tonight on October 20th. Any party of record wishing to address the board at its public meeting must execute and submit a request for oral argument form explaining why oral argument is necessary. Request for oral argument must be responsive to the hearing master's recommendation. Therefore, such request cannot be filed until after the hearing master has submitted his recommendation to the county on October 20th. Following this date, any party wishing to address the board at its public meeting will have 10 days to submit a request for oral argument to the clerk to the Board of County Commissioners. Therefore, for tonight's applications, if you wish to address the board at its November 10th land use meeting, you must file your request for oral argument between October 20th and the close of business on October 30th. While the board is not required to hear oral argument at its public meeting, the board can elect to hear oral argument from a party of record. A party of record is an individual who fits into at least one of the following four categories. First, someone who is present tonight and presents testimony or documentary evidence. Second, someone who is certified by the U.S. Postal Service as having mailed notice of tonight's hearing. Third, someone who submitted documentary evidence to the master file at least 2 business days before tonight's hearing. Or fourth, someone who submitted documentary evidence by proxy at tonight's hearing. Should the board elect to hear oral argument, parties of record will be eligible to address the board if their requests for oral argument are responsive to the hearing master's recommendation, and if they clearly set forth why oral argument is necessary to address at least one of the 4 outstanding issues that are laid out in section 10.03.04E of the Land Development Code. If the board elects to hear oral argument, the content of that argument shall be limited to the content of the testimony and other evidence that is submitted verbally or in writing to the hearing master tonight. It is the role of the county attorney's office to ensure that only individuals who have met these requirements are allowed to speak before the board, and to ensure that no new evidence or testimony is introduced or allowed at the board's public meeting. For these reasons, please make sure that all information you wish the board to consider at its public meeting is entered in tonight's record. Thank you.
Thank you. Yo. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
We'll now take up the first item on the agenda, which is agenda item C1, rezoning standard 20-0367. The applicant Sizemore Properties LLC. The request is rezoned from AS1 and AR to ASC1. I will provide staff recommendation after a presentation by the applicant.
Mr. Hearing Master, welcome. Congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Horner, 14502 North Dale Mabry Highway, Tampa, 33618, representing Jay Sizemore at Sizemore Properties LLC. I'll be brief, Mr. Hearing Master. I think this is fairly straightforward. This is a 15-acre property south of Keysville Road, north of CSX Railroad line, and west of County Road 39. In the rural service area, it is zoned AR, which you may be aware is a 5-acre minimum requirement. And we are within the Res 1 plan sector, which permits 1-acre lots, long-range growth plan. We are seeking the zoning district of ASC1, which is a conventional 1-acre lot district, consistent with the Res 1. So we are filing a request that is consistent and recommended and encouraged by the long-range comprehensive plan for 1-acre lots consistent with the future land use plan. I would note for the record, Keysville Road is a collector, and County Road 39 is an arterial. This application, Mr. Hearing Master, comes to you with unanimous recommendations of approval from Development Services, findings of consistency from the Planning Commission regarding goals, objectives, and policies being consistent with the future land use element. We have no objections from any review agency. There are no wetlands on the site. This parcel is an active agricultural production farm. It is not anticipated to be developed anytime soon. My client and his interests own a number of agricultural fields in this community. This is for long-range planning purposes. We are in the middle of Res 1, Mr. Hearing Master. We are not on the edge, we're not on the cusp. We do have rural designations further south of the railroad. We are in a pocket which is completely surrounded by Res 1. No plan flexes required or necessary, or actually even permitted. We have significant AS1 and ASC1 zoning districts in the area. They are all approved for 1 acre lots. We have a number of PD districts that are approved and developed and platted for 1 acre lot subdivisions, both north and south of Keysville Road. ASC1, Mr. Hearing Master, as you probably are aware, precludes mobile homes. I had a couple calls regarding concerns over mobile homes. That is the AS1 district, and we are seeking ASC1 district that does not permit mobile homes. I'm not aware of any opposition. I'm not aware of any objections. Again, we have unanimous approvals and no review agency objections. I'm happy to answer any questions. That's all I have. Thank you.
Well, I have one question.
Certainly.
This is anticipated to be for future development,
Yes, sir.
and if this zoning change was allowed, would you need any further approvals from agencies or specifics as to this piece of property?
Well, the normal development review process would be if we are going to plat, which we most likely would do for the 15 acres, we have to file a subdivision plat consistent with subdivision platting requirements. Would have to have a stormwater pond for internal road development. That requires a swift mud permit. And then site review for final plan approval. But beyond that, no other approvals are necessary.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'll provide a staff presentation on this item. As noted by the applicant, the request is rezoned from AR agricultural rural to AS and AS1 to ASC1 agricultural single family conventional. The parcel is located on the south side of West Keysville Road, approximately 550 feet west of the intersection of West Keysville Road and Avon Lady Place. The underlying comprehensive plan designation of the subject parcel is Res 1. A maximum of 14 lots would be permissible in the requested ASC1 zoning district. The area contains a mixture of AR agricultural rural, agricultural single family AS1, and agricultural single family conventional and planned development zoning districts. The AR zoning is permitting minimum lot size of 5 acres. The ASC and AS1 and ASC1 districts permit a minimum lot size of 1 acre, with mobile manufactured homes permitted in the ASC1 district. These are parcel zone AS1 and ASC1. To the north are parcel zone AS1, ASC1, AR, and PD, conditioned to ASC1 zoning district standards. And to the west are parcel zone AS1 and AR. Staff does find, based on the land use pattern, the request consistent and compatible with the existing zoning and development pattern in the area. Available any questions? If you have no questions, then we can now hear from the Planning Commission staff.
No questions.
Unica Mills Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the residential 1 future land use classification and the rural area. The request to rezone the property to ASC1 is consistent with the residential 1 future land use classification. Additionally, the subject property is consistent with—
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Sure. Unica Mills Planning Commission staff. I'll start over. The subject property is located within the residential 1 future land use classification and the rural area. The request to rezone the property to ASC1 is consistent with the Residential 1 future land use classification and is consistent with Objective 4 of the future land use element, as the subject parcel will be reserved for large lot, low-density residential. Overall, the request will be compatible with the development pattern of the area, consistent with Policy 16.3. And based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in support of this proposed change? Seeing no one, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this proposed change? Seeing no one?
Staff has no further comments.
Mr. Hearing Officer, this is Cameron Clark. It might be prudent at the end of checking if there's anyone in the room, just to ensure that there's nobody participating virtually to speak either in opposition or in favor.
I believe virtually we only have Mr. Jay Sizemore, who is part of the applicant team.
Thank you, Chris.
My client, he was available if you had any questions directly from him. We have no rebuttal. We have the additional time. Thank you very much, Mr. Hearing Master.
Thank you.
The next item then is agenda item C2, rezoning standard 20-0395. The applicant is Matthew Walsh. The request is rezoned from ASC1 restricted to ASC1 restricted. Steve Beachy with county staff will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Matthew Walsh. Good to see you, Brian. We had long conversations on the phone.
Mr. Walsh, could you provide your address for the record?
16324 Dewdrop Lane, Tampa, Florida, 33625. Okay. I would wish to rezone this property from ASC1 restricted to ASC1 restricted, because the restriction, I believe, was put in error initially. When I met the counselor, he said, okay, you can change this from residential to ASC1, but no pigs. I said, reasonable. And instead of putting down no pigs, he put down restricted only to horses and goats. And being a novice, I didn't realize the ramifications of that. It went through, and then within a couple of years, I went to take out a couple of trees to put in some blueberries. And they said, I'm not allowed to remove any trees because I'm only allowed to have horses and goats. I'm not allowed to grow any crops, no blueberries, no grass, no flowers, plants, vegetables, anything is illegal on my property. I'm also not allowed to have chickens, rabbits, any other animal because of this restriction. I immediately went downtown. I talked with John Walker. He was frustrated. He said, I can't believe they did this. This is a mistake. Go and have before the County Board of Commissioners for $300 and they'll probably reverse it for free. I did that. I was unsuccessful. So I've got so frustrated at that point that I kind of let it go for like the last 10 years. Now I've built the house on this property. It was vacant before. I've decided that for me and also for whoever buys this property past me when I'm dead, to have this mistaken restriction on there, I need to rectify that. So that is why I'm here today. I wish to be able to remove that restriction and make it normal. I researched every other property in Hillsborough County and Pinellas County, and no one has this restriction of only horses and goats. No other agricultural uses at all. So I realized that this was a mistake. I don't know how it happened, but I realized that I need to fix this, and that's why I'm here today. And the evidence I have is just some simple pictures of the property. You see it's solid forest, and I want to keep it that way. I'm not going to tear out any of this to put in large intensive agriculture. And Stephen Beachy agrees with me and my uses, and he made some simple, like no farm stand, which I'm fine with. And he gave me the recommendation that that everyone is in favor of this. And this is the house that is right next to my property. In fact, that is my fence right there. So you can see it is not an upscale neighborhood by any means. And this is pretty typical of the houses that are all around that neighborhood. Very, very low rent houses. So, and I have chickens and rabbits there now, which is illegal. I have a lot of plants, mangoes and all these in the buckets. You can't quite see in the photo there. But again, that's all illegal. And all it takes is one crazy neighbor to call code enforcement on me and really make my life a living hell. So I would really like to have this changed. And that's all I've got.
Okay. If you please sign in with we'll now hear from Steve Beachy with county staff with staff recommendation.
Good evening, Mr. Hearing Master. Steve Beachy, Development Services. The request is to modify the restriction on a 2.32 acre parcel zoned ASC1 restricted. The subject parcel was rezoned ASC1 in 2010 with the restrictions that only agricultural uses permitted were domestic hoofed animals, excluding pigs. The wording of the restriction disallows all other agricultural uses, including crops and orchards, from the parcel, and the applicant seeks modification of the agricultural use restrictions to allow the option for passive ag uses. No variations or variances to the Land Development Code are being requested at this time. The site is located in the urban service area. The comprehensive plan designation is R2, and in 2010, the rezoning included the following restrictions. The site is approved for one residential dwelling. The site cannot be subdivided. Secondly, the only agricultural uses permitted are domestic hoofed animals, and I've already read that restriction. The applicant requests that the first restriction be removed, as it does not affect compatibility with the surrounding residential area and can be removed. Subdividing the lot would remain subject to the requirements of the Land Development Code and the comprehensive plan. The applicant contends that limiting all agricultural uses on the parcel was in error, and as far as the compatibility, the agriculturally zoned parcel is isolated and is surrounded by residentially zoned parcels with residential uses on all sides. And given the relatively small size of the parcel for agricultural purposes, 1.7 acres of upland, the preponderance of residential uses surrounding the parcel and the access limitations posed by a dewdrop lane, which is an undersized road where he has access. The subject parcel is not well suited for the full palette of agricultural uses as allowed under the code. In particular, intensive agribusinesses or uses that generate traffic to the site would not be compatible with the character of the surrounding residential neighborhood. Therefore, the restriction is for passive agricultural uses as allowed by the code, and the applicant will be able to achieve the desired outcomes of more varied agricultural activities on the parcel, but without negatively impacting the adjacent residents. Based on the above, the staff finds the request supportable with the following restrictions. Restriction: agricultural uses shall be limited to agricultural passive uses per agricultural passive definition in the Land Development Code. Domestic hoofed animals are permitted, excluding pigs. The maximum number shall be restricted in accordance with the Land Development Code, section 611.13. That concludes my comments.
We'll now hear from Planning Commission.
Unica Mills Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the residential 2 future land use classification, the urban service area, and the Carrollwood Northdale community planning area. The proposed use is compatible with the surrounding development pattern. As per policy 16.16 of the future land use element, at least 51% of the development along a water body is to be comparable with the surrounding development pattern. PC staff Planning Commission staff has determined that the proposed use meets this intent. With the restrictions in place, this will ensure compatibility consistent with policy 16.8 and 16.16. Additionally, the request furthers the intent of policy 29.6 to carry out agricultural uses. And based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in support of this proposed change?
Is there anybody online? No.
Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this proposed change?
No one online? Okay. The staff has nothing further. Does the applicant have any rebuttal? Then the next item on the agenda will be agenda item C3, is rezoning standard 20-0997. The applicant is BBNV LLC. The request is rezoned from agricultural single-family 1 to business professional office with restrictions. Chris Grandelar will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Good evening again, Mr. Hearing Master. I'm Michael Horner, 14502 North Dale Mabry Highway, Tampa 33618, representing BBNV LLC, the applicant and owner of this request. Mr. Hearing Master, this is a 1.04 acre tract. It's at 6611 Simmons Loop, west of US Highway 301 and north of Simmons Loop. We are in the SMU 6 plan sector. We are in the urban service area, so public water and public sewer will be connected. We are currently zoned AS1, and we are seeking the BPO restricted zoning district. Mr. Hearing Master, this case comes to you with unanimous recommendations of approval from Development Services, as well as findings of consistency with the future land use element, goals, objectives, and policies. We do meet locational criteria. No waivers are required. We have no objections from any required agencies that had review comments, and there are no wetlands on this site. As noted, we are between two large PDs, north and southeast. Staff picks this up in their report. We have multifamily just to our west, and then that multifamily PD continues to the north of the subject site. You can see they're under construction. We are located right here. This is Simmons Loop. This is US Highway 301. The eastern parcel is actually owned by Hillsborough County. Mr. Hearing Master, it does have a public, quasi-public blue designation on the comp plan, which means there's a public interest, and that public interest is a mitigation area that has been committed to in perpetuity by deed. In other words, no development, residential or otherwise, can occur on that site. Our client's partners also own the western 1.04 acre tract just to the west of this site. So while it is a house, and the Planning Commission notes that due to compatibility issues that we agreed to the smaller building area, it's actually because these will have different developments. Both will most likely be offices. This is going to be a medical dialysis center, a very low trip generation. Also, hours are more typical of an office, light as we'll call it. They don't have extended hours through the weekends. Planning Commission notes the change in character of the Simmons Loop corridor. There's no question that is taking place. It is in transition. Simmons Loop extends westward and it goes north to Big Bend. And there are substantial PD rezonings developments, St. Joe's Hospital, you know, the 301 corridor just to our east, and we have a number of IPD and PD developments there for both residential and non-residential uses. The BPO district by the LDC has a cap floor area ratio of 0.20. That would yield 11,300 square feet. We proposed a self-imposed restriction of 8,000 square feet and 1 story. still 35 feet in height, which is the typical height in Hillsborough County. But we did agree to the one story and the 8,000 square feet, primarily because we are one of the first BPO districts approved on Simmons Loop. My client did not need 9, 10, 11,000 square feet. So we went in a little on the downside in terms of the maximum FAR opportunity available. I can only assume as we come in on that western 1.04 acre on the other partners, they may very well have a higher FAR and 2 stories, but we're willing to commit to the 8,000 square feet in the 1 story. Brian, just a note of record, I noticed the report did not have those restrictions as part of the conditions, so I'm voluntarily agreeing to those restrictions are mentioned in the Planning Commission report, but unless I missed them.
Could you restate those again?
Yeah, we agreed to a maximum square footage of 8,000 square feet, BPO uses. We also agreed the building to be a 1-story, 35 feet height max.
We'll make sure to incorporate those in the revised report.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hearing Master, this, I'm not aware of any objections. Represented a number of PDs and developments in this area, in this corridor. This area is in transition. This is a low trip generation use, and we're asking for the lower FAR square footage based upon us being the first BPO, at least on this section of Simmons Loop. We're across from a church, and we have other CG and CN uses approved as part of those PDs that we're abutting, as well as 3-story multifamily. So I think this is very compatible. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
I have no questions.
All right.
We'll now hear from Chris Grandelar with county staff.
Good evening, Chris Groundlenar, Development Services. The request is to rezone a 1.04 acre parcel from AS1, agricultural single family, to BPOR, business professional office restricted. There is an existing single family residence on the site. The applicant is proposing to restrict the size of the proposed use to 8,000 square feet and 1-story or 35 feet in height. Parcel is located on the north side of Simmons Loop, approximately 725 feet west of the intersection of Simmons Loop and South US Highway 301. The applicant has indicated the purpose of the rezoning is to allow for a dialysis center. To the south across Simmons Loop is a church zoned AR. Immediately to the east is a vacant mitigation parcel zoned AS1. To the west is a single family home zoned AS1. The vacant parcel to the north is zoned PD 171397 and allows commercial general, CG, and BPO, business professional office uses. With the potential in the north of a mixed-use development, the rezoning of the subject parcel from AS1 to BPOR would be consistent with the existing zoning pattern of the area. Based on the above considerations, staff finds the requested BPO restricted zoning district compatible with the existing zoning and development pattern in the area. There are no agency objections. Staff finds the request approvable. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
I have no questions.
Planning Commission staff.
Unica Mills Planning Commission staff, the subject property is located within the suburban mixed-use 6 future land use classification, the urban service area, and the Riverview Community Planning Area. The proposed business professional office restricted use is consistent and an allowable use within the suburban mixed-use 6 future land use classification. The site meets commercial locational criteria as outlined in Objective 22 and Policy 22.1. The request is also consistent with Policy 16.5, which directs higher intensity non-residential uses along collectors and arterials. With the restrictions in place, the request will also be consistent with Policy 16.3 of the future land use element. And based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there anyone to speak in opposition to this proposed change? Seeing no one?
Need to also ask for support.
Yeah. Also, are there people here to speak in support of the proposed zoning change? Again, seeing none.
Are there anybody online for support or opposition? No, thank you. Staff has nothing further, so now we'll hear a rebuttal from the applicant.
Thank you. Again, Michael Horner for the record. Brian, the restrictions are in the report. They're just not called out separately, so it's.
Yeah, I noticed that. We mentioned in the report, but towards the end, we don't mention, so we'll.
I didn't know if that was a new
No, we'll.
format that staff is doing.
We'll correct it, just lay them out in that towards the end of the report in the recommendation section, so.
We're good. With that, the only comment I have is a mobility fee reference of $123,000. I find that on the high side, given the proposed use and limited square footage, but that's not for debate tonight. That's just my comment. We'll
And
research
and
that
it's an
further.
estimate from the mobility fee staff, again, per policy direction from the Board of County Commissioners wanted those type of impact fees noted in the reports. And so some you'll see the newer applications. And again, they're just doing estimates. And again, when it's a commercial project, it's a bit more of a challenge for them to estimate.
I
Because again,
understand.
obviously.
But
not
is it
knowing-
use specific or is it not use specific? Would this be a commercial rate as opposed to an office dialysis?
I'd have to look at the
Okay.
analysis, but again, it's just estimates. So again, that's not saying
binding.
that's where your fee is not binding. It's just to give the
And
applicant board some
Mr. Horner, this is Cameron Clark. I can tell you that
dental fees.
We just,
Mr. Horner, you won't know those actual numbers until your issuance of your building permit, so you have some time. Routinely, impact fee staff will provide estimates if they're requested, and this is just part of a new process now, but the actual impact fees will depend on the use type in the mobility fee study.
Clark, we just did a quick calculation here and it looks like it should be around $15,000 to $18,000. I just want to make sure the 123 was not locked in. All right, well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
That concludes item C3. We'll now go to item C4. This is rezoning standard 20-01047. The applicant's TSP Companies Incorporated. The request is rezoned from RDC 12 to commercial neighborhood. Tanya Chappelle will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Do we have the applicant online? No, we do not.
Mr. Hearing Officer, I would recommend we delay this hearing until later in the agenda, and we'll see if we can get in touch with the applicant to find out where they're at. So with that, we'll close that case for now, and we'll move on to agenda item C5. This is rezoning standard application 20-1060. The applicant is DR Lutz LLC. The request is rezoned from RSC 6 residential single family 6 conventional 6 to residential multifamily conventional 6. Stephen Beachy will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Hearing Officer and staff. My name is Todd Pressman, 202nd Avenue South, number 451 in St. Petersburg, Florida. I do have the PowerPoint for you, and I have to put a copy of that in the record. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'm also here this evening with Ninen Desai. Ninen is the property owner. Wanted to be here in attendance. Is that up for you, sir? On the screen, the PowerPoint up for you? Okay. It's a little different here, but okay, I see. So we're located in the far north reaches of Hillsborough County. We're on Lutz Lake Fern, just off the Veterans Expressway. And this is a very smaller site located on Lutz Lake Fern. This is how the property appraiser has it. You can see there's a lot of development, a lot of activity in the immediate area. We're currently zoned single family, conventional RSC 1, Res 4, it should be that should be RSC 6. So currently zoned single family conventional RSC 6. The future land use category is Res 4, so we are capped at 4 units per acre. The only change that's sought here is the style or form of the home unit. So we're currently approved for single family, 6 units per acre, but we're capped at the 4 for the future land use. We're seeking just to change to multifamily. Again, it's 6 units per acre, and of course, still capped at the future land use category of 4 units. So it's only a change of the style or the type of unit. It's not an increase or decrease of density in any manner.
If I could interrupt you for a
Yes, sir.
second.
Please.
Do you anticipate any single family, or is it going to be entirely multifamily?
With this rezoning, it would be all multifamily.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Feel free to interrupt me at any time.
All right.
There's a fair amount to go through. So this is, again, a picture of the property. And as you can see immediately, our budding neighbor is the school board. Our multiple school campus. We're right down the street from the Veterans Expressway. This is the McKittrick Elementary School is our budding neighbor, Martinez Middle School and Steinbrenner High School. Across the street is the TPC Country Club with restaurant, clubhouse, recreation, golf, things of that nature. There's also a sports activity field located right next door to the school. This is the abutting neighbor, McKittrick Middle School. You can see it's a 2-story structure. It's quite intensive, especially during school hours, before after school hours. The other neighbors include the Steinbrenner High School, Bob Martinez Middle School, and below is a picture of the high school campus. This is the abutting activity center to the site. So across the street is the TPC, as I indicated, which is an intensive recreational facility. So a little history. There was a land use change was done in 2016 that was supported by the Planning Commission, planning staff, and the Board of County Commissioners. And there was an attempt at a commercial general restricted for self-storage. That was denied. So we came back for the single family, which was approved on June 11, 2019. It's come apparent that single family, it's not great for this site. There's not been a lot of interest for it. It doesn't work well with the abutting uses, so we're here today seeking the multifamily. Taking a closer look at the surrounding uses, the site there, I've noted in red lettering. I don't have a pointer. You see the institutional school use next door. Going down the street is a school and childcare, a dog cat facility, church, and a school childcare. And across again the street is recreational club use and the restaurant. That's the aerial of the site. And looking at the surrounding uses as well on the aerial. I can also tell you that we spoke with the property owner next door. That was the email I put into the record. We spoke with her recently, and she did communicate that she's in support of the request. And that is an email from Charlotte Carroll, who indicates her address and does not oppose the issue, refers to the file number.
How many units do you propose?
It would be a total of 7.
Thank you.
This is just one picture pulled off the internet of the activity next door. That does occur at the site. And part of the reasons why we believe it's more appropriate for multifamily. And quite frankly, I'll get into it in terms of other uses. Looking at more uses on Lutz Lake Fern Road, this is the daycare and the school, the pet boarding daycare, the church, daycare, school. Lutz Lake Fern itself is a major arterial, 4-lane separated median roadway, carries 15,353 vehicles per day, which is pretty heavy and pretty strong, particularly as you can imagine at peak hours with the schools. Switching to the zoning staff recommendation, the zoning staff indicates that given the mixes of uses in the area and that the parcel is located between a school and a larger lot single family, a multifamily townhome development could potentially be an appropriate transitional use. We see it as a transitional use. Now, the zoning staff does not recommend support. They've raised concerns of their concern, not speaking for them, but in the report, that they feel that the site may not be developable as multifamily. But we have had an engineer do scaled rough draft plan for Sycamore Engineering. And Ninan had one of the architecture students, a master's architecture student, to also put together a site, and he's comfortable that it can be developed in that manner. The question then becomes, Mr. Hearing Officer, the characterization of the vicinity. Because when you read the Planning Commission recommendation, they state that the predominant land use pattern in the area is low-density, single-family detached residential, that the existing uses in the area are low-density family residential dwellings and agriculture uses. But as I've just shown you, we believe that's far from the truth. And I will tell you that the Planning Commission gets it right actually just about all the time, but we do feel that their characterization of this immediate area is off. They have 1,700 students every day next door, 4,500 students in all three schools. It's a multi-story public use institutions and commercial uses on Lutz Lake Front Road and across the street. Zoning staff recommendation indicates the area is comprised of detached single-family developments, institutional uses, specifically 3 public schools, several child care centers, and a church. So clearly, the zoning staff agrees that it is not characterized like the Planning Commission has. I'm not sure why the Planning Commission came to that conclusion. They're good folks. They're making a determination. We just strongly disagree with it. We're happy to leave that in your hands when you see the area. We believe the site is compatible and is in character. It's abutting a major multi-school campus, total student population of 4,500 students. It's at a major expressway interchange, located on arterial road with more than 14,471 trips. The 15,000 is correct. That's a little bit of an older number. Immediate area has commercial type uses that create many trips, noise, activity, use of infrastructure, and impacts. Suitability of the site with high impact noise and activity level from the budding school, again, we believe it's an outstanding transitional site. Furthermore, it is an absolutely tremendous workforce housing location for the teachers working at the school and the businesses in the immediate area. And we've heard a mantra from Hillsborough County, and it's a great mantra about live, work, play. If there's any site that would be a fantastic live, work, play site, it would be this. It would be lots of employment, it would be workforce housing, and it would be walkability and sustainability.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Please.
How much additional traffic, let's say the units are built as proposed,
Yes, sir.
how much additional vehicle traffic would you think would be generated from those units?
I don't have that factor, but I can tell you we were not, we were not required to do a traffic study because we fell way below the trigger. It's only 7 units.
All right.
So it's going to be minuscule on that roadway, but I don't have the exact figure for you, sir.
Thank you.
My pleasure. We can switch back, please. Let me see here. Okay. In the comp plan, and there's a lot in the comp plan that supports this, because when you look at the community design component, they talk about reducing auto dependence, in which life can be led without total automobile reliance. That's what the site does. We think it supports that. Wide variety of housing types, including multifamily. There's very little multifamily in the immediate area. In fact, in the immediate area, I don't think there's any. This would be a different type of housing. Goal number 1, plan a pattern of compact, livable, walkable neighborhoods. It's not necessarily a neighborhood, but it certainly meets that goal and works towards that goal. When you look at the comp plan and the future land use element, they talk about policy 16.2, gradual transitions of intensities between different land uses, provided as new development is proposed. This would be a great transition from the schools to the property next door, and again, the next property the property owner supports. Also, compatibility refers to height, scale, and mass of bulk of structures. Comp plan housing element, goal 2, promote and assist in the provision of ample housing supply within a broad range of types and price levels to meet current and projected housing needs so that all Hillsborough residents have the opportunity to purchase or rent standard housing. Comp plan objective 1, Hillsborough County should proactively direct new growth into the urban service area, which we are doing. Unincorporated Hillsborough County CP public schools facility element talks about sites approximate to and within walking distance to residential neighborhoods to the schools, conveniently located to the residential neighborhoods, and direct safe access path for pedestrian travel. Those are good, important siting factors that we meet. In regard to the school board, I did touch base with them, and I received an email back from Amber Dickerson, who indicated that at this time, there is capacity at the adjacent concurrency areas for this site. If you apply for a certificate of concurrency, you would pass. Of course, that's a snapshot in time. There's a communication in the staff report that they're at capacity, but I checked with the school board to see if that was correct or not. So in summary, the immediate area has significantly impacting commercial institutional uses. The character of the roadway interchange is significant. The budding uses are extremely active, impacting and noise impacting. The use proposed is very low impacting and is transitional in nature. The characterization by the Planning Commission, we believe, with great respect, we believe that it's incorrect. Use is compatible and there are unique circumstances. School capacity is okay. It's a perfect workforce site, infill, live, work, play. Many comp plan policies support it. The issue is only the style of the residence, single family to multifamily. And with that, we appreciate your attention. Happy to answer any questions for you.
Well, I think I've asked my questions.
Nina would like to just make a quick comment if you may, sir.
Thank you, officers. My pleasure to be here, and this thing means a lot to us.
Sir, can you state your name and address for the record?
Thank you. Sure. I'm Nainan Desai, and I live in Lutz, 320 DeBule Road, Lutz, Florida, 33549. Yes, this thing means a lot. It will help open up the spaces also with multifamily without adding any additional traffic than 7 units would be. So it's just a style of residence, and it helps make it also more affordable to the people. So it means us a lot to be able to do this thing for the community.
Thank you.
I'm now here from Steve Beachy with county staff.
Good evening, Steve Beachy with Development Services. And I should note that I believe we have Mr. James Ratliff here who can speak to the traffic issues, and they did submit a report. So I'll give him a little warning that you may want to call on him on that question about traffic generation with the multifamily. The applicant is requesting to rezone an approximately 1.96 acre parcel from RSC6 to RMC6 for the development of townhomes, a multifamily. The subject property is located within the Lutz community planning area. The applicant has proposed some restrictions. They're in your staff report. I'll not read those right now. No variations to the land development code are being requested at this time. The site is located within Hillsborough County urban service area, and the comprehensive plan and the designation is Res 4. The immediate area surrounding the subject parcel is zoned AR to the east and planned development to the north, south, and west, and the area is comprised of detached single-family developments, institutional uses, specifically 3 public schools, several child care centers, a church, and the subject property is currently vacant. As the applicant pointed out, we do find that given the mix of uses in the area that the parcel is located between the school and a larger single-family development, a multifamily townhome development could potentially be an appropriate transitional use. However, staff has noted that with the width of the parcel, approximately 107 feet, does pose significant challenges for the development of the multifamily townhomes. Staff recommendation is non-support due to the concerns of the viability for future development on a site to comply with the RMC6 development standards. Staff is concerned that the applicant may need to apply for variances, and therefore compatibility of the RMC6 district with the adjacent land uses cannot adequately be evaluated. Given the above consideration, staff finds that compatibility of the multifamily townhome project on the subject site cannot be adequately addressed through the proposed rezoning to RMC6. Staff notes that a plan development zoning application provides an opportunity to provide a more specific multifamily townhome design that can be reviewed for compatibility with adjacent properties. Based on the above, staff finds the request not supportable, and I'm available for any questions.
Planning Commission staff?
Unica Mills Planning Commission staff, the subject property is located within the residential 4 future land use classification, the urban service area, and the Lutz community planning area. The proposed residential multifamily conventional 6 zoning designation is not consistent with the intent of the residential 4 future land use classification, as residential 4 is to designate areas that are suitable for low-density residential. The request is also inconsistent with the policy direction of the community design component within the future land use element, Goal 12, which encourages development to relate to the predominant character of its surroundings. The predominant character of the area is single-family detached residential. Additionally, the request is inconsistent with policy 16.8, which states that overall density and lot sizes of new residential projects shall reflect the character of the area. Allowing multifamily would be considerably different from the housing types that are in the area. And based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning inconsistent with the future Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Sir?
Are there anyone else here in support of these changes other than the 2 people that have already testified? Is there someone here in opposition to these proposed changes?
Anyone online? Nope. Okay. Staff has.
We do have Mr. Beachy.
Yeah, I have one other comment. Wanted to note that the transportation section did indicate that because of the multifamily would actually be reduced amount of trips compared to the RMC 6 or the RSC 6.
Thank you.
Now we would hear rebuttal from the applicant if they have any.
I would just, Mr. Hearing Officer, I would just add, Todd Pressman, again for the record, thank you. So the transportation report notes it would be a decreased number of trips by 15 average daily trips. So it would result in 5 in the peak hour, 5 trips in the PM 7. But again, it would be a reduction of trips compared to what is currently zoned.
Thank you.
I think we made presentation very clear, and we appreciate your time, and we're confident when you have a close look at the area, we think that you'll feel the same, and we appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
With that, we'll close item C5. And before we take up item C6, we did speak to the applicant for agenda item C4, which is rezoning standard 20-1047. They are not going to be able to make the hearing tonight, so staff would recommend that item C4, rezoning standard 20-1047, be continued to the October 19, 2020 zoning hearing master hearing. Thank you. That, and Mr. Hearing Officer, if you're in agreement with that continuance, we'll move on to the agenda item C6.
Yes.
Brian, I'm sorry, this is Cameron. Can you hear me? Just want to confirm, can we just make sure there's nobody either in the audience or online who was planning to speak to C4? Just to make sure they understand.
Anyone in
that
the audience is planning to speak to item C4 I would like to speak to the continuance. Is there anyone online? No one online? No one in the audience or online, Mr. Clark?
Thank you, Mr. Grady.
So with that, we'll proceed to the next agenda item, which is agenda item C6, rezoning standard 20-1066. The applicant is NRG Investments Incorporated. The request is rezoned from agricultural single-family 1 to commercial general. Kevin DeFrank with county staff will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Mr. Hearing Officer, I have a PowerPoint for you that I'm going to put in the record if I may. Good evening, Mr. Hearing Officer Todd Pressman, 202nd Avenue South, number 451 in St. Petersburg. This is standard rezoning 20-1066. This is a rezoning of a 5.52 parcel from agricultural single family to CG. Future land use category is Res 1. We're located in the what's referred to as the Plant City area, Dover Plant City area, out State Route 60, getting close to the county border. Looking a little closer, it is located close to James L. Redmond Parkway, which is State Route 39 and State Route 60. Looking a little closer, this is the aerial. This is how the property appraiser has it. You'll note that there's a structure in the front, but the rear is, it doesn't look it now, but it's agricultural use in most of the aerial photographs. So its location with the intersection is rather close. I have it at 610 feet as a Google measurement. In order to be within locational criteria, 75% of the property has to be within 660 feet. So it only raises to you that we're really not very far outside locational criteria. Excuse me. And that we're relatively involved with the intersection. The county mapping shows the area to be environmental green on the north. This is the flood map and flood hazard, and primarily only has contained agriculture in the rear. You'll note critically that commercial general is located further from the intersection to the east, along with a BPO, which is adjacent to the site, and a PD to its east. So I wanted to look at that closer because this is critical, that the CG zoning is just one lot to the east. And of course, that's what we're asking for, which is much further from the intersection. The PD on the west is a very intensive rezoning to allow general apparel, eating establishments, farm supply, food products, gun, art, floors, furniture, horse trailers, vets, sporting goods, just a huge wide range of retail and commercial type uses. To the immediate south, the entire property is phosphate mining, which of course is a very intensive use. You also note the intersection are CGs, CN, and CGs run up Redmond Parkway. You'll see noted at the site is a Taqueria La Feria, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, and you can see the agriculture use on the north. This is the site as it exists at the time I took the photo. The roadway, State Route 60 at this point, is a 4-lane divided arterial highway. 2017 traffic count had at 23,500 vehicles per day, and it is officially in the Hillsborough County truck route. That's the site again on the immediate right. Abutting on the west, I read those approved zoning uses, was a restaurant, seafood steak, that currently is closed. At State Route 60 and 39, you have a lot of intensity, which you would expect. You can see the different commercial uses included here as well, and additional uses. What's curious, Mr. Hearing Officer, is that there has been a long time commercial activity on the property. Zoning doesn't say it should be there. I researched it. I don't know why it's been there. But the minimum I can tell you is that it has had a long time use. Even the property appraiser picks up the site as mixed use retail, as you can see in the corner. This is a picture of the restaurant that was at the site for quite a long time. Prior to that, it was a use called Strawberry Palace, which was there for quite a number of years. Didn't really have anything to be able to pull off the internet other than that it was present at the site. So the least I can tell you is that we've had a test of time of commercial activity, although not supported by zoning. Again, I don't have an answer as to why it's been there. It just has been there. This is the current aerial. Again, you can see the agriculture use, and you can see the site up front, and that carries on for quite a number of years as a commercial use, as you can see, back to 2006. Prior aerials were inconclusive and also very out of focus. So interestingly enough, as compared to the last case, there is an issue of characterization of the vicinity. Zoning staff recommendation notes the size and depth of the parcel in relation to other adjacent parcels would create a zoning development pattern that is not consistent with the existing zoning and development pattern of the non-residential uses zoning districts along this portion of State Route 60. Planning recommendation notes majority of the properties immediately adjacent are single-family agriculture and vacant. and would facilitate further encroachment into the predominantly low-density agricultural residential adjacent to the subject property. But that is absolutely not the case, sir. The reality is that it is CG, there is commercial zoning, both on the east and the west, and there is intensive phosphate mining all along the south. So looking at how the zoning and planning departments have characterized this site, we just cannot agree with. There is a locational waiver filed. Locational waiver talks about the compatibility of vicinity uses and zoning, which we think it is compatible. It's next to a BPO and a CG is further from us, and on the other side are intensive commercial uses. It's compatible due to the restriction of the use due to topo conditions on the north. Critically, the north part of this property is never going to be developed. It's strictly an environmentally sensitive area. It's not going to be expanded. It's captured and it's restricted to the north as we have shown. On the locational waiver, it's located on a major arterial and truck route. And again, we have the tested time, at least, of commercial use on the property, whether permissible or not is the best I can say. So in summary, we are very close to the locational waiver requirement. We're surrounded by intensive zoning and uses firmly support the request. There's topo restrictions, I call them topo restrictions, environmental restrictions to provide compatibility. It's located on a recognized major thoroughfare, and there's a history of commercial uses that have worked fine. So with that, we appreciate your consideration, and we feel confident when you visit the site and look at the zoning maps that we hope that you'll be in agreement, and I appreciate your consideration and possible support.
Is there a proposed use that goes along with this request?
The proposed use is a restaurant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Pressman. Now hear from county staff, Kevin DeFrank.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin DeFrank with Development Staff, Development Services. The request is to rezone one parcel totaling approximately 5.53, 5.52 acres from the existing AS1 zoning district to the proposed CG zoning district. And the site is located in an area comprised of rural scale neighborhood multi-purpose, rural scale neighborhood commercial, low density rural residential, and agricultural uses. The majority of the area north of State Road 60 is within Rezone flu category that can potentially permit commercial, office, and multi-purpose uses that meet the locational criteria. The overall area is also within the rural service area with no publicly owned and operated potable water and wastewater facilities available. And the site is adjacent to property zone AS1, BPO, and PD, but within the general area, there are other property zones CG, as the applicant stated. However, the size and depth of the subject parcel in relation to other adjacent non-residential uses would create a zoning development pattern that is not consistent with this existing zoning development pattern of the non-residential uses zoning districts along this portion of the north side of State Road 60. Based on those considerations, staff finds the proposed CG zoning district incompatible with the existing zoning districts and development pattern in the area. Therefore, staff finds the request not supportable. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Planning Commission staff.
Unica Mills Planning Commission staff, the subject property is located within the Residential 1 future land use classification and the rural area. The rezoning request is not within the distance of a qualifying node to meet commercial locational criteria as described in policy 22.2 of the future land use element. The applicant has submitted a waiver to locational criteria. According to the waiver, the site is located in close proximity to the intersection of State Road 39 and State Road 60. However, within the locational criteria policies, it states that at least 75% of the subject property must fall within the specified distance to meet locational criteria. And in this case, the site does not fall within that 75% of the qualifying distance. Though there is other commercial general uses within the vicinity, the approval of that CG seems to be very old and was prior to the comprehensive plan. So allowing additional commercial general zoning within the area would be out of character, as well as undermine the rural policies within the comprehensive plan, being inconsistent with objective 4 of the comp plan. Based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed use inconsistent with the future Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Mr. Hearing Officer, before we go to support or opposition testimony, just to add an additional note, you had asked the applicant regarding the proposed use for a restaurant. I would note, as a standard zoning district, there are no restrictions proposed. So even though the applicant has stated their intent to use a restaurant, it's not restricted specifically that, and so they would be allowed to have the full range of commercial general uses on the parcel. I wanted to note that for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there anyone else speaking in favor of this proposed change? Anyone speaking in opposition to the proposed change?
Anyone online either way? Okay. Staff has nothing further, so we will hear rebuttal from the applicant.
No, again, just appreciate your time and attention, and we'll look forward to having your support if you see so fit. Thank you.
With that, item C6 is closed, and we'll move on to agenda item D1. This is major mod application 20-0104. The request is for a major modification existing plan development. Tanya Chabella will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant. And while the applicant is getting ready to present his testimony, we do have revised staff report and agency comments from transportation. And again, the revised staff report is reflecting the changes in the transportation report. Basically, the changes in the transportation report was remove conditions that were no longer necessary or not applicable to this application anymore. So I'll hand those out while the applicant is presenting his testimony.
Thank you, Brian. For the record, Michael Horner, 14502 North Dale Mabry Highway, Tampa 33618, representing the owner and the applicant on this request. Mr. Hearing Master, this site is 0.84 acres. It's located at 4320 Lithia Pinecrest Road. It is currently zoned planned development, 2,500 square foot structure for office uses. It is in the urban service area. Public water and public sewer are required. And we show this as Res 2. I believe staff reflects it as Res 2. The Planning Commission noted Res 4, but I'll let Unica correct that in her report. Lithia Pinecrest, Mr. Hearing Master, is an arterial. This is just north of Williams Boulevard, which is a major local road. This case comes to you with unanimous recommendations of approval from Development Services, findings of consistency from the Planning Commission regarding all goals, objectives, and policies of the future land use element. We have no objections from any review agencies, including EPC, and we do have a large wetland on site, Mr. Hearing Master. That wetland has been recertified by the Environmental Protection Commission. They commented on our application that no resubmittal was necessary, so that line for the jurisdictional line has not changed. It has grown on the other side. It has certainly extended further westward, but has not gone any further landward toward the upland area. So we are developing this portion, the eastern half of that site. There's a 2004 PD approval plan, Mr. Hearing Master, that was granted by the Board of County Commissioners with recommendations for approval. It does reflect the 2,500 square foot footprint of the building, parking directly north, detention pond. This is the wetland jurisdictional line. Turf block is being proposed. If you look at the 2004 PD plan and you look at our major mod plan, Mr. Hearing Master, they are the exact same plans. We propose no changes, no increase in square footage, no changes in the parking, no changes in the setback. The only change that we're seeking is the ability to have medical office. For some reason, in 2004, while that PD was approved for personal services, which has the same or higher parking ratio as medical office, they did not insert the words medical office on the conditions of approval. My client is required to go through this entire major mod process to add words medical office, health practitioner office as part of the conditions of approval. We have a convenience store with gas pumps directly to the south. The aerial backup, which is here. You can see the gas pump canopy. Across the street, you'll see in the comp plan map, very large public, quasi-public, that is Lithia Springs Elementary School, I believe. Major transportation generator on that use, of course. Brian is correct. We did have conditions prior, months ago, pre-COVID. We have resolved those issues as of the updated report that removes the turn lane requirements, also removes the cross-access requirement, which is physically not possible and not required under the LDC criteria for this type of roadway. So we've reviewed the updated staff report. We have no objections to the conditions being proposed or their findings. Mr. Yates is here also. If you have any questions on transportation issues on this site. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now hear from Tanya Chappelle with County.
Tanya Chappella, Development Services. The applicant is seeking a major modification to a plan development 04-1448 to modify the permitted uses to add the healthcare practitioner offices as requested. No other modifications to the current PD are proposed. The approved PD allows a maximum of 2,500 square feet for professional office uses or a bank. The proposed PD area is currently vacant and is located about 8,500 feet to the south of the intersection of Lithia Pinecrest Road and Bloomingdale Avenue. The parcel is 0.84 acres in size and its future land use classification is Res 2. The applicant has not requested any variations to the land development code. And the site plan shows an approved section of the parking area with the wetland conservation area setbacks. No further encroachment has been requested. Also, the condition number 1 is being amended to allow the healthcare practitioners' offices. Transportation staff is recommending deletion of conditions 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 to remove conditions that are no longer applicable or are not necessary for inclusion in the conditions. The proposed use to be added is comparable to the professional office uses and bank approved by PD 04-1448 and does not create further incompatibilities with the surrounding area. No increase in the FAR or addition to the building area has been requested and will have no impact on the transportation network. Given the above, staff finds the proposed modification to be compatible with the surrounding properties and in keeping the general development pattern of the area. Staff finds application 20-0104 approvable, subject to conditions. This concludes my presentation. I'd be glad to answer your questions.
Planning Commission staff.
Unica Mills, Planning Commission staff. I do want to correct for the record, the site is located within the residential 2 future land use classification, the urban service area, and the Brandon community planning area. The rezoning request is consistent and an allowable use within the residential 2 future land use classification. The site is limited to 2,500 square feet and 1 story to be in character with the area consistent with policy 16.3 and objective 16 of the future land use element. The site does not meet commercial locational criteria, however, would provide a logical transition of land uses between commercial and residential, meeting the intent of policy 22.6 for the exception to locational criteria. And based on those Considerations. Planning Commission staff finds proposed major modification consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan, subject to conditions proposed by Development Services staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support? Seeing no one, anyone here would like to speak in opposition to this proposal?
Nothing, no one online. Staff has nothing further, so we'll now hear from rebuttal from the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Hearingmaster. Michael Horner for the record. I would just close by saying I did not mention locational criteria. We did not feel that was an issue because this is already approved as a PD. We're not changing any of the square footage, and the entitlement is just inserting the opportunity for medical office. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes item D1. We'll now move on to the last item on tonight's agenda, which is agenda item D2, major mod application 20-0397. The applicant's Hillsborough County School Board. The request is for a major modification to the existing plan development. Michelle Heinrich with county staff will provide staff recommendation after presentation by the applicant.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Isabel Albert with Half Associates, 1000 North Ashley Drive, assisting the applicant with this major modification request. I just want to say on the record, I was not sworn in. I missed the swearing in earlier.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this request is a major mod to an existing plan development that's located in the Apollo Beach area. It's located on US 41, just north of 19th Street. It is part of a larger plan development that is approved for residential around here. And then this was approved for a school, and this was approved for a park and residential. When the school board purchased the site, we had it zoned for allowing a school use on site. However, the coastal high hazard area lines were changed, and now it covers the site, and through the interlocal agreement from the school board, which I will provide a copy for you, is not allowed to have any schools on site. So the school board took a look at the site and found that there was a perfect location, located surround all the other existing schools and able to provide support services to these schools. So the reason for the major modification tonight is to add, to be allowed all the accessory uses associated with the school, which includes the bus parking area, bus maintenance, warehousing for the all school equipment, as well as offices administration for the school. Part of the application, thought it'd be easier to zoom in. This is parcel 31, which is where the school was currently approved for, and this is parcel 32. The reason why we have parcel 32 included in this zoning application is because we relocated the access that was currently approved here. We had to relocate it here for numerous especially safety maneuver functioning of the site. And so therefore, this is owned by Hillsborough County. And so in collaboration with the county, managed to get an cross-access easement agreement, which was approved by the board, and I'll also provide a copy for that for the record. And so with that, that's why they're part of this application. There is access that was approved over here, but with the presence of the wetland area, we decided not to go through there. But we do have an emergency access to 19th Street, which is an emergency exit access. But overall, this is the request. I am here with the traffic consultant if need be, and represent from the school board as well. Here if you have any questions.
So this anticipates not building the school here?
Correct. This is known, well, per the interlocal agreement, a school cannot be located at that location because of the coastal high hazard area that was identified or on the site.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now hear from Michelle Heinrich.
Hi, this is Michelle Heinrich, Development Services. As the applicant stated, they are requesting a modification to PD 001167, as most recently modified by Major Mod 03-0311. This PD is primarily a residential project with commercial and cultural institutional uses permitted along US Highway 41. Specifically, the 5 requests are for parcels 31 and 32, both of which are vacant. Parcel 31 is in the public, quasi-public future land use category, while parcel 32 is in the Res 12 future land use category. Parcel 31 is approved for single-family, multifamily, cultural institutional uses, childcare, and neighborhood recreational, and it is all to be developed, of course, the non-residential uses in CN zoning district standards. Firstly, as you heard from the applicant's representative, they do seek to add school-related facilities as permitted uses in parcel 31. That would include an administration building, a bus maintenance building, warehouse building, and an outdoor bus storage area. Secondly, they seek to remove the previously approved entitlements of single family and multifamily in parcel 31. This does not impact the permissibility of residential elsewhere in the PD. The remaining 3 requests are access changes. As you saw on the overhead during the applicant's overview, parcel 31 and 32 each have their own access points to Highway 41. Under this application, they are seeking to consolidate those into one access point, which will be located in parcel 32. The purpose of this change is to have access to the existing median opening on US Highway 41, which will allow both left turn and right turn ins into the property. Within parcel 31, the applicants propose to remove an existing access point along the northern border. This is due to the presence of wetlands in that north area, which would be impacted by a driveway. EPC staff has concerned the presence of those wetlands in this area. Lastly, the applicants propose to modify an existing full access point to 12th Street, which is located along the eastern border. For this particular use that's proposed to be added tonight, this access is proposed to be emergency only. Staff does not object to this request as the proposed use is not open to the general public and security of school board vehicles and materials is desired. It is noted in our staff report and the conditions of approval that a reanalysis of that connection will be undertaken if any other permitted uses are developed. Our compatibility analysis found that the area is developed with residential uses and more intense commercial uses along the US Highway 41 corridor. Given the approved commercial development standards and the depicted layout of uses and open storage area, which are placed in proximity to the highway rather than residential to the east, staff did not identify any compatibility concerns. We did not receive any objections from reviewing agencies, and Planning Commission staff has found this to be consistent. Therefore, we do recommend approval subject to proposed conditions, and I'm available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Planning Commission staff?
Unica Mills, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the public, quasi-public, future land use classification, the urban service area, and the Apollo Beach and South Shore Area Wide Systems community planning areas. The proposed modification to add school-related facilities is consistent with the intent of the public, quasi-public, future land use classification, which is to recognize areas where public facilities, public structures, and other private establishments are to serve the public. Additionally, this modification provides a gradual transition from the subject site to the adjacent residential, meeting the intent of policy 16.2, 16.3, and 16.5. And based on those considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the proposed modification consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Is there anyone here to speak Any more in favor of this project? Anyone speaking against this project? Thank you.
No one online? Staff has no further comments, so rebuttal from the applicant?
Thank you, Isabel Albert. Just in closing, as you heard, we have no opposition from the reviewing agencies, and both staff found it supportable. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes the agenda, Mr. Hearing Officer.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.